Unfortunately, it seems like I've lost half of the footage up to the point we started adding some highlights. Don't need to worry though, because I do remember how to do everything up to this point, and I'll run you through it right now. So, what I started off with is a mix of Deathworld Forest and Ogren Camo. About 50-50 over the entire model over a black undercoat. Once it was dry, I moved on to adding in some shadows, and I did this with Vallejo's Black Red, pinwashing all of the recesses and then gradually building up a gradient with some glazes all the way up to the highest points on the armour. If it was looking a bit too dark and it wasn't looking quite right, I just went back with my original mix of Deathworld Forest and Ogren Camo to glaze back down some of those shadows. Shading's all done. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a bit more Ogren Camo to the original armour mix. Now this will help us to start building up some of those highlights and pick out those raised areas to get a bit more contrast between the shadows and our armour colour. For the final highlight, I'm going to mix in a little bit of pale sand, or you could mix in a little bit of ice yellow to make a contrast between the brightest parts of the armour and the darkest parts of the shadow. With that step out of the way, we're going to start adding some battle damage and some scratching all over the model. What we're going to do is we're going to get a really old brush, or we're going to get a sponge, and we're going to stipple on some chips all over the model, using a bit of Rhinox hide, or you could use any dark brown that you've got your hands on. While you're stippling this colour on, make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush or on your sponge, because otherwise you're going to end up with chips that are a bit too large and it might take away from all the work we just did before on highlighting the armour up gradually. Our old brush aside, because we want to be a little bit more precise. So I'm going to get some Mornfang brown and I'm going to stipple in some little bits of the highlight all over the model inside of the scratches that we've just done.